Have you ever noticed how the more you think about God, the further he seems to go? How the more we debate, explain, or dissect truth, the more it slips through the fingers of our mind? We live in an age obsessed with intellect, an age that worships analysis, information, and argument. Yet the mystics have always whispered, the intellect is not the path to God. Because God is not an idea. God is the ever-living, the eternal now. And thinking pulls us away from that living moment. When Jesus said, "Unless you become like little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven," he wasn't speaking about innocence in a moral sense. He was pointing to presence. A child doesn't live in concepts. A child doesn't carry the past or fear the future. They are fully here, unfiltered, unguarded, and alive. That's why they radiate light. That's why they're so close to God. And as we grow older, something happens. We start thinking about life instead of living it. We trade wonder for knowledge, and in that trade, something sacred is lost. Maybe that's what the ancient myth of the fall really means. That moment humanity began to know good and evil, to see reality not as one living whole, but as divided, categorized, labeled. That's when I was born, the thinker, the analyzer, the separate self. In Islamic mysticism, this separation is symbolized by shaitan, the intellect that refused to bow to clay, the fire that said, I am better than him. In that moment, the mind forgot its source. It mistook its brilliance for light itself. And so began the long night, the age of disconnection, what some call the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, born not from evil, but from too much thinking. If you've ever been caught in overthinking, you've felt this darkness. You start with a simple question, and before long, you're lost in a maze of conclusions, fears, and interpretations. Every belief, every identity, every I am this or I am that becomes another layer covering your true face. The more knowledge we collect, the further we drift from wisdom. Because wisdom is not accumulation, it is clarity. It's not about adding more, it's about seeing what already is. Reality doesn't need our thoughts to exist. It's been shining long before we ever tried to name it. But the paradox is, we're using thought right now to talk about transcending thought. So clearly, the intellect has its place. In the spiritual journey, the mind is a servant, not the master. It's a bridge, not a destination. The problem isn't thinking, it's identifying with the thinker. When the intellect bows to the heart, it becomes illuminated by love, by humility, by presence. That's when thinking becomes sacred. That's when reflection becomes remembrance, dhikr. The Sufis say, the lamp of reason is good, but it is the heart that contains the sunrise. Thought can guide us through the night, but when the sun of presence rises, the lamp must bow. To return to God, to reality, is to unlearn everything that keeps us divided, to release the compulsive need to label, defend, and prove, to drop even the idea of spirituality and simply be. The mystics call it remembrance, not learning something new, but remembering what we've always been. Underneath every belief, every identity, there is a stillness watching, untouched, eternal, alive. That stillness is God within you. It was there before thought, and it will remain after thought fades. So if you find yourself trapped in endless religious arguments, in the need to be right or to prove what God is, pause, take a deep breath, step out of the mind and into the moment. Because the truth you're trying to think your way into is already here, watching through your eyes. The mind divides, the heart unites. And in that unity, you remember, you never left the garden. You were simply lost in thought. If this reflection spoke to something in you, share your thoughts below, not from the mind, but from the heart. And if you'd like to walk deeper into these mysteries with me, subscribe to the channel, where we rediscover the sacred wisdom hidden in plain sight.